Park in Manhattan. There's a bronze statue of a doctor named James Marion Sims, whose brilliant achievement carried the fame of American surgery throughout the entire world. He's the guy who created the vaginal speculum, an instrument gynecologists use for examination. He pioneered the surgical repair for fistula, a complication from childbirth, and became known as the father of modern gynecology. But that brilliant achievement was the result of a series of excruciating experimental surgeries that he conducted on enslaved women. In a lot of ways, Sims epitomizes the story of American medicine for Black women. It's a system that's failing them to this day. From infant mortality to life expectancy, the racial disparities in healthcare are staggering.
And they wonder why
The
we don't
gulf
trust
between Black and white might be widest when we look at maternal mortality, with Black women 3 to 4 times more likely to die in connection with pregnancy or birth than white women. And that divide can be traced back to doctors like Sims, who contributed to a long, largely overlooked history of institutional racism in medicine.
Trying to understand a historical problem without knowing its history is like trying to treat a patient without eliciting a thorough medical history. You're doomed to failure.
That's Harriet Washington, a medical ethicist and author who chronicled the intersection of race and medicine in her book, Medical Apartheid. While many of the stark racial disparities in healthcare can be attributed to environmental and economic factors like access to good healthcare, studies show that minority patients tend to receive a lower quality of care than non-minorities, even when they have the same types of health insurance or the same ability to pay for care.
As African Americans, we've been abused for so long, consistently by the system. Why should we trust it? Why should we go to it when ill? And that's iatrophobia. That's a fear of the healer, inculcated by the behavior of those healers, unfortunately.
It starts with slavery. Doctors relied on slave owners for financial stability. They accompanied plantation masters to auctions to verify the fitness of slaves and were called in to treat sick slaves to protect their owners' investments. In 1807, Congress abolished the importation of slaves and in turn pushed Black women to have more children, to essentially breed slaves. Founding Father Thomas Jefferson later wrote, "I consider a woman who brings a child every 2 years as more profitable than the best man on the farm." Around the 1830s, the abolitionist movement led to the rise of what was called Negro medicine, or efforts to identify Black inferiority to justify slavery. And there were polygenists who tried to use both science and the Bible to find proof that races evolved from different origins. The 1830s also marked the beginning of recorded experimentation on Black women's bodies. One doctor performed experimental C-sections on slaves. Another one perfected the dangerous ovariotomy, or removal of an ovary by testing the procedure on slave women. In fact, half the original articles in the 1836 Southern Medical and Surgical Journal dealt with experiments on Black people. And then, of course, there was James Marion Sims, whose reputation is etched in history and on that statue in Central Park. Between 1845 and 1849, Sims began performing experimental surgeries on a 17-year-old slave named Anarcha. He eventually performed 30 operations on Anarcha and more surgeries on about 11 other female slaves. When his male colleagues could no longer bear to assist him in inflicting pain on the women, the slaves took turns restraining one another. Yet paintings depicting Sims, Anarcha, and other slave women presented a subdued version of his experiments. Even though anesthesia was introduced in 1846, Sims chose not to use it for his experimentation with slaves. His practices echoed one of the most prevalent and dangerous beliefs in medicine at the time, that Black people did not feel pain or anxiety. This book from 1851, titled The Natural History of Human Species, claimed the American dark races bear with indifference tortures insupportable to a white man. Studies released as recently as last year demonstrate that Black people are less likely to be treated for pain, particularly in the ER. There's even one from a children's hospital that found the same to be true for kids. And just this year, Pearson Education, a leading educational publisher, issued an apology and recalled nursing textbooks that included racist stereotypes, like this section that said Black people often report higher pain intensity than other cultures.
Wow.
Well, what does it mean when you say that someone doesn't feel pain? Among other things, you're speaking about their humanity. These are all part of that suite of beliefs emanating from the 19th century that we still have not shaken off. despite all our knowledge and sophistication. They're deeply ingrained.
Doctors like Sims might fit the Dr. Frankenstein stereotype, but they weren't outliers. Historically, Southern doctors who used Black bodies for troubling experiments were the norm.
It's a very common question. How can we judge our forebears? You know, those guys in the 18th century who practiced medicine in a way that appalls us today. And we think, how could you do that? I did not judge the practitioners based on our own ethics. I judged them based on the ethics of their time. It was not acceptable back then. We just did not hear from the people who protested against it.
After the Civil War ended, the 1900s brought a wave of immigrants to the U.S. It sparked a race panic and coincided with the birth of the American eugenics movement. One of the movement's key objectives was to reduce the childbearing potential of the poor and disabled. Leaders included birth control pioneer and Planned Parenthood founder Margaret Sanger, who eventually devised the controversial Negro Project, or family planning centers that pushed birth control in the Black South. It was a project that even garnered support from W.E.B. Du Bois, a founder of the NAACP, who wrote that Black people bred carelessly and disastrously. By the mid-1930s, more than half the states passed pro-sterilization laws, and often sterilization was forced. In 1961, future civil rights leader Fannie Lou Hamer went to the hospital to have a tumor removed, but was subjected to a hysterectomy without consent. The procedure, which rendered women infertile without their knowledge, was so common in the South that Hamer is said to have dubbed it the Mississippi appendectomy.
African American babies were no longer economically valuable. And African Americans themselves had gone from being a resource to a nuisance.
In June of 1973, the SPLC uncovered 100 to 150,000 cases of women who had been sterilized with federal funds in Alabama. Half the women were Black. In recent decades, women of color continue to be exposed to dubious reproductive health programs. In December 1990, the FDA approved a contraceptive called Norplant, and it was selectively marketed to Black teenagers in Baltimore schools.
You know, one of the current birth control methods now in the United States is Norplant.
Norplant fans like David Duke, the former KKK Grand Wizard, even introduced legislation to give women on welfare an annual reward of $100 if they agreed to get Norplant.
And it's time we start to encourage welfare mothers to be responsible.
That bill never passed, but the implant ignited a debate on whether long-term contraception, like Norplant that lasted 5 years, could be used as a form of social engineering when pushed to specific communities. Today, as we continue to lose Black mothers at alarming rates, a deeper look at the past may be a good step towards creating a more equitable healthcare system. Hi guys, thanks for watching. Of course, there's a lot.
This Vox and Vice are really great resources to have when it comes to providing better context on the kind of things that go on. I don't know if you guys saw that, Chad, but I mean, I watched this before, but it's just great to show people the kind of stuff that I watch and where I get my information from. So if you're wanting to get more information on stuff like this, definitely go check out Vox on YouTube. I don't know how many people know about the stuff that we talked about in this, but it does explain a lot of what goes on today. Our distrust, Black women's distrust, the mortality rates amongst Black women, and childbirth, and abortions as well. Especially in southern states like Alabama and Mississippi, where it's like 6 to 8 times the national average as well.
Right.
It's just crazy. I can't remember where I came upon this at, but when I do come upon stuff like this, I always save it to the Leon Block's YouTube. So for anyone that wants to check it out or find more stuff like this, if you don't want to go to Vox or anything, you can always just go to our YouTube page, the Leon Block channel, and check out more clips like that. There's lots of other stuff like history pieces, and tomorrow is our 2-year anniversary. So we're going to be, bringing clips and talking about, I'll bring up some history pieces for the next few weeks for everyone to check out. Lots of information for people to sit and dig at. So you definitely don't want to miss that. Stay tuned for that shit.
Definitely, definitely, definitely.
Yeah, that was I like Vox because they're short and sweet, but they pack a lot of information in. I gotta find that one that I was telling you, Chaz, about, which was, sorry, it was I think I wasn't telling you. I was telling Meg. It was about this young black reporter who, sorry, he was trying to find any any signs of present day actual slavery that we would think of as like chattel slavery in the 1800s, and if it exists today and where, because he had heard stories of it. Um, and it's just very man, it's deep. It's just deep. When I have a chance, I'll find it for you. I'll send it to you. But when I do find it, air. Um, I'm going to air it so people can just go ahead and see it. I'll tag you in it and stuff. But
Definitely. I want to see it.
yeah, I'm telling you, you definitely want to see it. Um, it's a tear jerker, but at the same time, it's an eye opener. Um, I think it's necessary for people to see that this goes on. It's not just the prison system. It still literally goes on. Yeah, I know I have it somewhere, but I'll find it. But yeah, y'all. Tomorrow, actually, 2 hours, we will be celebrating our 2 year anniversary. 2 years of the Leon Block bringing you news, media, events, information, situations, conversations about everything under the sun, whether it's communism, capitalism, socialism, fascism, Nazism, or racism, um, or this crooked system, or public lynchings. We're bringing it all because it's important. And this is just an indicator that we have survived another year, and we will have another full blessed year ahead of us as well. So I personally look forward to it. I look forward to what's going to take place, especially over the next year, because we do have some nice big things planned for you all, and some merch coming, and the website, and it's a lot of exciting things I'm really excited about. In due time, we've been growing organically and growing slowly, and I trust that this coming year we're gonna grow in ways that y'all haven't foreseen, but um, I've been working on manifesting for quite some time. So I'll leave that at that. But
A
yeah,
lot of big things coming.
for real. Um, Usually, like, I know this time last year I did like a break, but it was just me. It was just the Leon Block was all me, and this year is very different. It's very different this year, and I couldn't thank y'all enough for being part of the team and making this what it is now. It means a lot. Um, and so, I mean, it gives people a lot more to soak up. And over the next 2 months, well, the next month or so, for the rest of 2022, we will be doing lots of recaps and showing a lot of things for y'all to check out. So yeah, really excited. Uh, About to wrap this up, but is there any last things you want to share with people, Chaz?
No, I just hope that people are really paying attention and to seeing and understanding why certain things are the way that they are in today's time, because we have to go back in history and understand history to understand today. So,
Facts. That's facts. Yeah, we're definitely going to dive more into history in the next month or so. And this next coming year, well, we'll discuss more about it, but I think I'm ready to roll out these ideas. You know about some of them, but we'll talk more about it. Everybody, make sure you meditate on your path, celebrate your being, liberate your spirit, and educate yourself. I'm John Tell.
And I'm Chaz.
Y'all have a good evening.